realise that this is a slightly belated welcome, that you've been here several hours already. And during lunchtime, I was meeting many of the delegates, and each one I was meeting, I was apologising about the weather, because as I came in, the snow was beginning to fall out there. But rest assured, we have it all under control. Guarantee that trains and aeroplanes and everything will be functioning as normal today for you on your return journey. I'm particularly pleased to welcome colleagues from other UK cities, but also across Europe. And I'm pleased we've been able to make the special trip to come to Huddersfield in Kirklees. Until a few weeks ago, I had a European role. I was the Vice President of the Socialist Group of the Congress of Europe, and sat on various committees of the Congress of Europe, including involvement in the Development Committee, the Sustainable Development Committee. And through that, over several years, I had an opportunity to look at how European planning is done, sustainable development, and visit some of the great cities on the continent. And part of that work involved talking to people like yourself, leading mayors and politicians in those cities, and learning from them about how we in the UK can share our experiences and good practice. I also had fantastic opportunities to visit some of the emerging Eastern European democracies, and also visit the Middle East, where they were just beginning to look at how democratic legitimacy can be ingrained with good, sustainable economic development, good land use planning. And it was an amazing opportunity to sit down and talk with the mayors of places in Bulgaria or Moldova, places in Armenia, to talk to them about how we do it in the rest of the developed world in Europe. And hopefully I'll be able to go back in a few years and see how we in the Congress have played our role with the emerging democracies, and assisting and supporting their own development and sustainable development. In Kirklees, the phrase sustainable development isn't new. It's been a phrase that we've held proud in the way that we approach the work that we do in all aspects of life in Kirklees for the last 25 years. When the council was led by Sir John Harman, at that time Kirklees was at the forefront of sustainable development, and since then there's been some impressive work going on here, projects as well as improvements for the quality of life for our residents. But putting it into the context that I find myself as leader of this council in, the big challenges that we have are the challenge of inequalities within Kirklees. Within walking distance from here, you'll find an area called Newsham, where the average life expectancy compared to our best areas is 7 years less. So people in Newsham, on average, live 7 years less than those who live in Denbydale or Kirkburton. Now, to me, that inequality is far too large to ignore and not to do something about. Also, on education, those pupils who are eligible for free school meals. And for our European colleagues, just to explain what that means, that is about those pupils who are in the poorest 20% in our society. Their education attainment at age of 16 is a third of the Kirklees average, and it is significantly less than the national average. A lot of these inequalities are as a result of long-term legacies of declining manufacturing and industrial bases, lack of aspiration in some communities, but more importantly, it's about national policy and local policy not being sustainable at a local level. And some of the massive investments that we have made over the last few years, I can say, have tackled some of the gaps in inequalities for our communities and being sustainable at the same time. So, for example, the £20 million investment that we did with our partners on Warm Zone helped some of the most poorest families who are in fuel poverty by reducing their energy costs by up to £200 per annum. It's also reduced the carbon footprint for Kirklees by around 65,000 tonnes, which is equivalent to the operation of the entire council. And we are the 7th largest council in the United Kingdom. We have a carbon budget process where all our council operations have a limit on how much carbon that they can use in the delivery of their services, and we monitor that on a biannual basis and set very challenging targets for our managers to meet in their carbon budgeting. But I also want to see, in my lifetime, a Europe-wide approach to things like carbon budgeting, a Europe-wide approach to a sustainable development policy. And I think only when we have that type of approach will we be able to truly say that we have ingrained sustainable development into every aspect of public policy. We've had a change of government and massive financial challenge for all of the public sector. There's two ways in which we can deal with this. We can cut and cut and cut. Or we can look at the opportunities of reorganising the public sector. Look at the opportunities that we can have in terms of more freedoms and flexibilities. In the UK, local government has got more central control on it than any other form of local government in Europe. When I meet with my counterparts from Europe, I'm envious about the freedoms that they have on taxation powers, on local policy, on changing the local life that we are constrained by national diktats. But this government, as the previous government, are making moves in which to give local authorities far greater freedoms over our futures. So some of the opportunities that we have taken now to work much more closely with the National Health Service, working with local GPs in 2 GP commissioning consortia, but getting GPs and NHS to think about sustainable development, not just a narrow set of patients who walk into their surgeries with illness and they're given a prescription to go and take some medicine to get better, but actually going upstream and helping those people not to become ill in the first place. And it's